In this chapter, we will discuss controllers and their actions. We'll cover what controller is, what its actions or endpoints are, how to create an example controller, define actions, and analyze how they work. But first, let's take a look at the architecture of web application. Each web application consists of two parts, its front-end side and back-end side. The front-end sends HTTP requests to the backend. Backend processes them and returns back the response, the HTTP response. The backend returns so-called status codes, which indicate the result of the operation. The return status codes can be like OK, created, but request, not found, and the other ones. The data returned from the backend are carried within the response. As we've mentioned, the frontend sends HTTP requests to the backend. Each HTTP request is associated with so-called HTTP verb like get, put, post, delete, patch, and the others. Sometimes the HTTP request may have its parameters. These parameters supply HTTP request with additional information. In further lecture, we're gonna create from scratch our new controller. It will be called Books Controller, and it's gonna contain a couple of endpoints or actions. In this lecture, we're gonna create only the headers of these endpoints with some very simple logic. We're not gonna concentrate on this logic, we're rather gonna concentrate on the headers, on the endpoints, on routes, on parameters, and so on. So let's get started. Let's switch to Visual Studio and let's go to Controllers folder. Currently we've got one controller here, which is called Books Controller. Let's display its contents. As we've already mentioned, we're gonna create the contents of this class from scratch. So the first thing that we want to do is to delete its current contents. Okay, now we've got it done. We can close the Solution Explorer window to have a wider view. Okay, let's take a look at the structure of our controller class. It's a public class named Books Controller, and this class inherits from Controller Base. Controller Base is a special class that provides the functionality required for Web API controllers. Above the class, we can see two attributes. The first is API Controller, which indicates that this is a Web API controller, and the second is Route attribute. This attribute specifies the path leading to the controller's endpoints. We're gonna make a little change here. We're gonna prefix it with API phrase. Okay. This path represents the portion of the URL that follows the IP address or domain name and optional port number. It's a string that starts with the phrase API followed by a slash, and inside square brackets there is a placeholder for the word controller. This universal notation indicates that the controller's name should be placed here, which is in our case books.